What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another video. In today's video, we'll be covering TOEFL writing, both the integrated writing prompt and the independent writing topics. So please take out your notebooks, grab your writing utensils, and get ready to take some outstanding notes. Please copy the note-taking diagram that's on the board. You should be writing R instead of L because for now, we're going to be looking at the passage and taking notes on the reading passage, okay? So change this L to an R. 1, 2, 3 would be the information for the first, second, and third body paragraphs, all right? Okay, so let's go to my laptop and look at the reading passage together. All right, here is the reading passage. Let's look at the last sentence of the introduction paragraph first. This is not surprising as the negative aspects of working for a company have become more obvious. Okay, so the reading's opinion is that working for a company possesses many negative aspects. And it's implying that it's worse than starting your own business, okay? So that's the reading's opinion. So the lecture's opinion is that starting your own business is better than becoming an employee. So the topic is whether or not working for a company is more beneficial than running one's own business. All right, now let's look at the first body paragraph. Large companies have multiple levels of bureaucracy, which often makes it impossible for junior employees to have contact with people in the upper echelons. Okay, so this is the main point. It is almost impossible for junior employees in companies to have contact with people in the upper echelons. The upper echelons mean the upper levels of management. So people in the upper echelons would be one's superiors, one's managers, one's bosses. Getting to the top of the corporate ladder might not be one's goal, but all employees are interested in having their ideas listened to and acted upon. Okay, so this sentence is telling us that, in other words, it's not only impossible or it's not only difficult to become promoted, but also very challenging to have your ideas listened to if you are just an employee at a company. Senior managers often even take credit for the hard work their staff does. Okay, so this sentence is also implying that working in a company is also bad because senior managers will mistreat their workers, or senior managers often do mistreat their workers by taking credit for everything that they didn't do. All right, so those are the main points of the first body paragraph. Let's move on to the second body paragraph. In a constantly fluctuating economy, job security is a thing of the past. Corporations once believed to be secure have crumbled under the weight of financial miscalculations and scandals. Okay, so this is the main point here. So corporations that were once safe to work in or secure have crumbled under all of the financial mistakes and scandals that have happened to them recently. So job security, just because you work in a corporation, is no longer guaranteed. Tens of thousands of people have been fired in the past few years. Okay, so this is the other main point here. So the unfortunate result of all this is that countless people who have worked in corporations have been laid off because of all these unfortunate things. All right, now moving on to the third body paragraph. People depend upon insurance, pension plans, and retirement investments to protect themselves in times of need and for the future. But insurance costs are rising, pension funds are in trouble, and many retirement investments become worthless when a company goes bankrupt. Okay, I think that's all we need here. All right, so the third reading passage is telling us that individuals who work in a company have to rely on insurance, pension plans, and retirement investments that are managed by their companies or by their employers. However, insurance costs are becoming more expensive or more difficult to afford. Pension funds are no longer stable, and most retirement investments become completely worthless when the company you're working in goes under or fails. And that's exactly why working in a big company actually has lots of risks. Not many things are in your control. That's what the reading passage is telling us. All right, now that we're done with this, let's listen to the lecture.
Now listen to a lecture on the topic you read about. Okay, so everyone wants to be the boss, but starting a business on your own is like traveling down a road filled with trouble. Sure, there are many successful businesses, and everyone dreams of being the next Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. But most businesses ultimately fail. It's far better to be an employee than to be a boss. Starting the business itself is a bureaucratic nightmare. You have to deal with state and federal laws and get permits, licenses, and all other sorts of things. You may have a great idea, but someone else might have had the same one and have already patented it. And let's not forget about taxes, rents, and employee wages. If you don't succeed in your first 6 months, chances are that you never will. While job security isn't really present at big corporations anymore, running your own business is even less secure. Take restaurants, for example. 9 out of 10 restaurants go out of business within 5 years of opening. You may have to sell your car or home to pay off the business debts you incur. You won't get fired, of course, but you may lose everything, even the proverbial shirt, off your back. You also need to take the issues of insurance, pension plans, and retirement investments into account. If you're a business owner, you'll have to provide for all of these and set your employees up with them too. And your insurance costs will be greater since you'll require insurance for your property, inventory, and employees. And if everything falls apart, I mean if the pension plan fails or the retirement investments disappear, people are going to take action against you. No, running your own business isn't as easy as it sounds.
Okay, now just in case any of you guys are wanting to become successful entrepreneurs, don't listen to what the professor said too seriously. As long as you're tenacious, diligent, and self-disciplined, you'll be able to achieve anything that you want to achieve, believe me. All right, now let's look at the lecture's information. So the professor said that starting and operating your own business is actually a road filled with trouble because most companies ultimately fail, so it's better to just become an employee. All right, now for the first argument, the professor said that starting a business is a bureaucratic nightmare. Bureaucratic is an adjective and it means anything related to or operating a business, organization, or government, okay? All right, so why is it a bureaucratic nightmare? Because entrepreneurs must deal with countless laws and get various permits, licenses, and deal with tons of other things, etc. Plus, even if you have a great idea, someone else might have had the same idea and already patented it. So the professor is implying, although he didn't say it, he's stating that, he's beating around the bush and stating that there's too much competition. It's way too fierce out there to become a business owner now. All right, now for the second argument, he said that a business owner has to worry about taxes, rent, and even employee wages. Consequently, if most startup companies don't succeed in the first 6 months, it is very unlikely for them to end up succeeding, which means that becoming your own boss or becoming the owner of a company is not stable anymore, is not secure, is not safe. For example, the vast majority of restaurants end up closing in the first 5 years of operating the business. So many restaurant owners or company owners these days have to sell literally everything just to pay off the debt that they accumulated. Hence, many have even lost the shirts that they had on their backs. All right, so that's a saying, that's an idiom for lose everything, literally lose everything. You're naked on the streets. All right, now the third argument stated that business owners also have to take into account various insurance policies, mainly for their workers, the pension plans, and retirement investments, since they have to provide all of that to their workers. Plus, employers or business operators need to even set themselves up with all those benefits and incentives as well. Moreover, insurance costs are much higher for a business operator because of their responsibilities. So I paraphrased that. The professor said many things, many specific things, but I listened to the entire thing and understood that those were the responsibilities that business owners have. All right, so the last detail is, needless to say, if any of these things, but mainly the pension plans and retirement investments, if any of those things fail, then business owners will get sued by their employees because they're still liable for all of those things that the workers were looking forward to. All right? Okay, so yeah, the professor is saying that starting and operating your own business isn't as easy as it is perceived to be. It's easier said than done. All right, now that we know what I'm going to write for the lecture, let's go to my laptop and look at my sample essay. All right, guys, I just finished typing the sample essay, so let's look at it together. The reading passage and lecture have conflicting opinions about whether or not working in a company is more beneficial than starting your own business. The article strongly postulates that becoming an employee in a corporation possesses a myriad of negative aspects that make it unappealing. On the other hand, the lecture adamantly delineates that operating one's own company is, in actuality, a road filled with trouble, since most startup companies ultimately fail, meaning that it's better to be a worker under the umbrella of a corporation. So, be a worker under the umbrella of a corporation just means be a worker in a corporation. And if you write meaning that in the middle of a sentence after a comma, it means so. All right, now the first body paragraph. First and foremost, according to the author of the excerpt, it's nothing short of impossible for subordinates to interact with their superiors in big corporations, which are riddled with bureaucratic red tape. Hence, most employees in large companies have a hard time not only getting promoted, but also voicing their ideas. Nonetheless, the lecture offsets these points by declaring that starting a business these days is a bureaucratic nightmare, owing to the fact that entrepreneurs must deal with both federal and state laws, get multiple permits or licenses, and jump over many more obstacles. Plus, even if a person may have a great business idea, someone else may have already thought about it and patented it. Needless to say, competition is also extremely fierce for prospective business owners. All right, nothing short of impossible means almost impossible. Red tape means all of the really strict and unnecessarily stringent rules and regulations in corporations or governments. And prospective business owners means soon-to-be business owners. Okay, now let's look at the second paragraph, body paragraph. The professor in the lecture further asserts that upon getting a business off the ground, people have to consider taxes, rent, and employee wages. Since such is the case, if most startup companies do not succeed in the first 6 months of opening, it becomes even more unlikely for them to find their bearings. For example, the majority of restaurants end up closing within 5 years due to their expenditures. Hence, these unfortunate employers sometimes need to sell everything they have just to pay off the debt they accrued as time passed. In other words, when things don't work out, business operators may even lose their shirts. These claims refute the writer's implications of how working in a corporation is riskier than starting one's own company, as many businesses have not been able to bear their financial mistakes and scandals, which have led to the termination of countless workers. Okay, now, getting a business off the ground means starting a business. Find their bearings means to recover. So to recover from a hardship, a difficulty, a failure. What else? I think that's about it. Oh, here it is. Lose their shirts, lose your shirt is an idiom for lose everything. Okay, now let's look at the last body paragraph. The article lastly points out that workers in corporations rely on the insurance, pension plans, and retirement investments that are held and provided by their workplaces. However, insurance is becoming more costly, pension plans are losing their stability, and retirement accounts will disappear once the company goes under. Consequently, working as an employee is no longer secure or attractive. The speaker in the lecture counters these indications by insisting that all business operators must take into account the insurance, pension plans, and retirement investments that need to be provided to all of their employees. In addition to this, employers even have to worry about setting themselves up with all of the aforementioned benefits. Moreover, insurance costs for business owners are much greater because of their liabilities. Last but not least, if and when the pension plans and retirement investments fall through, employers will most likely get sued by their workers who will definitely want to take legal action. Alrighty, that was my sample essay, guys. As I've said before, this isn't what you're striving to write or personally type at the real test. This is not what's expected. This is the answer sheet to this particular integrated writing prompt, okay? So if this question, if the reading passage and lecture were hard for you to understand, then please study my sample essay. Actually, even if it was easier for you to understand, review my sample essay, read it multiple times, and please leave any questions that you might have about the sample essay in the comment section below. All right, now let's move on to independent writing. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the essay topic for today's video. People can learn many things about others from the books and movies they like. I'm going to disagree with this topic because it doesn't make any sense. Now, the sentence that I'm going to type in the introduction paragraph for the other opinion is, people can learn many things about, yeah, it's the topic, guys. If your opinion is disagree, the other opinion is agree. So just copy the topic, please, just to be safe. Now, I'm going to have to paraphrase the sentence, the essay topic, when I'm typing my opinion because I just copied it word for word in the previous sentence, okay? So here it is. My opinion is that it would be an exaggeration to claim that the literature and films individuals enjoy have the ability to accurately portray their characteristics. So yeah, I'm claiming that it's impossible to know what a person would behave like or what their true colors are just by knowing what books and movies they prefer. Okay, now I'm just showing you these two sentences for the introduction and conclusion paragraphs because those are the only sentences you actually need to type the introduction and conclusion paragraphs. Now, if you are a subscriber and if this is not your first TOEFL writing video that you saw from my channel, you already know this. But if you are not a subscriber and if you're a first-time viewer, please go to my channel, go to the playlist tab, and look at all of the videos, as many of them as you can, all right? Now let's move on to the first body paragraph. First and foremost, the majority of individuals would agree with the notion that the works of literature individuals are fond of rarely have relations to their true colors. The main reason behind this rationale is that, in the 21st century, the number of people who actually enjoy reading books in their free time has dramatically decreased, as there are so many sources of entertainment available to them. In other words, it's impossible to assess these individuals' personalities through books simply because they don't have a preference in literary works. To illustrate more thoroughly, in my spare time, I enjoy playing basketball and ping pong with my friends because we grew up playing these sports with one another ever since we were in elementary school. Also, my favorite professional athlete is LeBron James, so I try to emulate his playstyle whenever I have the chance to set foot on the basketball court. Another pastime of mine is playing computer games. These days, I try to play a few matches on PlayerUnknown's Battleground whenever I have some time on my hands after school ends and during the weekends. In short, I've never even thought about picking up a book and reading it in my entire life, since reading is an obligation that I need to do for school. On the other hand, my older sister Lucy loves eye shopping and going to the department store with her pals since she's interested in fashion and wants to become a designer when she graduates university. She also enjoys chatting with her friends about various topics and watching YouTube videos about cosmetics. I've never actually witnessed Lucy sitting in front of her desk reading a novel. As a result, for people like us, it's impossible to learn anything about us through our tastes in books. All in all, we can't and shouldn't overlook the fact that the works of literature individuals are fond of have no relations to their true colors. Sorry about that, guys. I got a bit distracted by my dogs barking. All right, now let's move on to the second body paragraph. On top of this, we should not evaluate others' personalities by the motion pictures they favor, a widely accepted fact in contemporary society. So, do you notice what I did here, guys? The first body paragraph is dedicated to works of literature, aka books, and the second body paragraph is dedicated to motion pictures, also known as movies. This is how I decided to avoid writing two body paragraphs that might overlap with one another. Please don't forget, I should have highlighted this before. If the essay topic gives you the word and, what's in front and what's behind, or what's in front and what's after it can become your first and second body paragraphs. All right? Okay, now let's read the second body paragraph. In the eyes of many people in present-day society, some blockbuster films are loved and watched by millions of viewers around the globe, but this does not imply that their characteristics are all identical. In addition to this, A lot of individuals prefer watching movies of all shapes and sizes due to their favorite actors and actresses, so one's preferences in films may end up being the opposite of their true colors. A great example of this would be action, horror, and sci-fi motion pictures. Fast and the Furious is a movie franchise that has received stellar reviews and ratings by the masses. This movie contains and shows many scenes with reckless drivers and unbelievable car chases. Would it be correct to assume that fans of Fast and the Furious are all irresponsible drivers? Should these people have their driver's licenses revoked because of their tastes in movies? Many people have deemed The Conjuring as the scariest movie made in the past decade, and fanatics of horror movies were very pleased by its storytelling and graphic scenes. Does this mean that these individuals all secretly hope that paranormal and unexplainable things caused by spirits occur around them? Would these moviegoers want something disturbing happen to themselves on a frequent basis? The answer to these questions would be no, absolutely not. The Avengers, Inception, and Interstellar are science fiction motion pictures that were viewed by people of all ages, races, and backgrounds around the globe. Grown-ups, teenagers, and children are all great fans of these films, yet they don't share the same qualities or characteristics. Long story short, it's clear as day to me that we should not evaluate others' personalities by the motion pictures they favor. Okay, guys. Now, the first body paragraphs example, I decided to write a personal and a non-personal example. So something about myself and something about my older sister who doesn't exist. I'm an only child. And I don't even like playing basketball, so this is completely made up. But it's fine because it successfully delivered my thoughts and opinion to whoever happens to read this essay. Now, since I wrote a personal and a non-personal example for the first body paragraph, I decided to write a specific example or specific examples for the second body paragraph. And in this situation, those specific examples were about the blockbuster films that have, moved the hearts of millions of viewers. And I kept asking rhetorical questions. Just because millions of people like the same movie, it doesn't mean that they have the same personality. That's basically what I kept on hammering home in the second body paragraphs example. Okay, that just about wraps up today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like the sample essays, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you still have not done so, comment if you have any questions, share with everyone you know my channel, and don't hesitate to reach out to me about my teaching services. The next video will be covering independent speaking questions, so if you have any questions that you want me to cover, please mention them in the comment section below as well. Alright guys, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.